Metals and non-metals. Lecture number 1. In this lecture, we will be discussing about the classification of materials and will be also discussing about their physical properties. Okay. Now coming to the introduction, any material can be broadly classified into two types. A material can be classified into a metal and a non-metal. Now, how do we classify these materials? Basically, any classification of a material can be done with the help of its physical properties. Now, what is a physical property? A physical property of a material is something which lets us know about the physical feature of that material. For example, I can say that a material is shiny or not, and similarly I can say if it is hard enough or not. These are few examples of a physical property. Now it's the time to discuss the physical property of a metal. Coming to the physical property of a metal, usually all metals are solids at room temperature. Metals have a shiny luster which is known as metallic luster. Metals generally produce a sound when hit by any other thing. Metals are malleable and metals are ductile. If we note, we are being introduced to two new terms which are malleable and ductile. These two terms will be discussed in the next slide. Now let's define these two new terms. Malleable. This is a property of a metal, usually some metals, in which a metal can be beaten into sheets. Given below is an example of a metal which has been beaten into sheet. The other property is ductile. This is also a property of some metals in which a metal can be drawn into wires. Given above is the example. Now coming to the physical properties of a metal. In the first property, this property is not applicable to all metals. There are few exceptions. Now, coming to this exceptional metal, in the previous slide, it has been told that all the metals are solid, but there is one metal which is in liquid state at room temperature. This exceptionary metal is mercury, which looks like this. Mercury is the only metal which is in liquid state at room temperature. Physical property of a metal. There are some more physical properties such as metals are good conductors of electricity. Metals are also good conductors of heat. Metals are usually hard. Metals have a high melting point temperature. and metals have a low density. In the present slide, I have two exceptional points, which are metals are usually hard, and the second exceptional point is metals have a high melting point temperature. Now let us discuss about these two new exceptions. Actually, not all metals are hard. Some are very soft that they can be cut by a knife. For example, sodium. This is how sodium actually looks. Now, when you cut it by a knife, it gets easily cut into blocks, as shown. Similarly, gallium is a metal. It's an exceptional metal which has a very low melting point temperature. Now all the physical properties of metals are given below. Now let us discuss about the physical properties of a non-metal. These properties are just opposite to those of the metal. Coming to the physical properties of non-metals, all non-metals are either solid or gaseous at room temperature. Non-metals do not have a shiny luster. Non-metals do not produce a sound when hit by any other substance. Non-metals are not malleable, and non-metals are not ductile. Now let us discuss the exceptional cases of a non-metal. Previously I said that non-metals are usually solids or gas at room temperature, but bromine is an exception, which is a liquid at room temperature. Similarly, there is an exceptional non-metal which has a shiny luster, which is graphite. Now, some more physical properties of non-metals are: non-metals are bad conductors of electricity. Also, non-metals are bad conductors of heat. Non-metals are usually soft. Non-metals have a low melting point temperature, and non-metals have very high density. Again, here I have two exceptional points. Now let me discuss about these two new exceptions. Graphite is an exceptional non-metal which is a very good conductor of electricity. Similarly, diamond is an exceptional non-metal which is the hardest ever known, and it's very precious also. So altogether, my physical properties of a non-metal have been displayed below. Now let us introduce an alternative definition for a metal and a non-metal. Coming to the alternative definition of a metal, metals are those substances which are electropositive in nature, which means they have a tendency to give away electrons or lose electrons. In the same fashion, now let us define a non-metal. These are substances which are electropositive in nature. That is, they have a tendency to accept electrons or gain electrons. The continuation for this lecture can be found in the lecture number 2. Thank you.